Hello, welcome back to the YouTube channel of Bethel Evangelical Free Church Hanley. I'm Pastor Gervais Charmley. This is another historic church in Cumbria. This is St John's, Beckermet. The last video was St Bridget's, which you might look at, and certainly I did originally. I thought, well, this is the old church, but no. This too had a medieval church here. This is, of course, a Victorian building. This has replaced the medieval church, but there are some relics of the medieval building. And as far as we can tell, there have always been two Beckermet churches, St John's and St Bridget's. They have, of course, for centuries now been served by the same clergy, even before the modern tendency to group Anglican parish churches in large numbers served by a smaller team of clergy. But this is St John's. It's a good Victorian structure, and as we look around, we'll see information about who had it built, and also about the past here. There are quite a number of memorials and other structures to do with the history of the building before this present structure was built. Now, you can see, and we'll see a bit more closely if you look around, that the interior here is mostly brick. There is some stone. Outside it's faced with stone, but this is mostly a great example of Victorian polychrome brickwork. That is to say, they used different coloured bricks to create an effect for decorative purposes. So what we've got here, we've got most of it is this light pink brick, and then we've got some black, and there's a little bit of white. Well, the white is stone, but mostly this is it's pink brick, and then you've got these other colours, the stone and the black brick, and then there's some red sandstone that's used to create this effect. And what it means is you've got this decoration that isn't painted. It doesn't need to be repainted every so often, which is quite handy for cleaning purposes. So having said that, we'll have a look around and again see some of the features to do with the history of this building and the parish. So St John's, Beckermet. We're here in the porch for, well, one main reason, well, two reasons perhaps, which are these. This is part of an Anglo-Saxon cross, and this is another part of an Anglo-Saxon cross, probably not the same cross, but they tell you something about the history of this site, that this is a site where there's been Christian worship since before the Norman conquest, as of course at St Bridget's. Very ancient Christian sites here. And so we pass through the door, modern carpet of course. You can see on the sides of the pews you've got these umbrella holders, the drip stand, or the drip trays aren't there anymore. We've got here, this is one of the old oil lamps. You see we've got the, at the bottom, that it was a reservoir. It's been converted to electricity because it's a lot cheaper and it's also safer. The font is quite modern. It's not the original Victorian font, it's not the medieval font either. Both of those are in the churchyard. And there's a lot of these old, early Christian stones here that tell you something about the history, the very long history of this church. That gazebo at the end. Here we have a memorial to George Lewis, born at Madras in the East Indies, May 7th, 1809, died at Catgill Hall School, March the 19th, 1820, aged 10 years, poor lad. Schools could be dangerous. And we have here again, there's another one. This is a really lovely, you've got this Celtic type knotwork here. Very good. Again, remember, we're just across the Irish Sea. Here we've got this baptistry area at the back. So that's the aisle, the one and only aisle on the north side, as they often are. And up the centre here, we've got pulpit that is made of pitch pine, a very popular material with the Victorians. The screen, of course, is Victorian, good 19th century screen there. And we can pass through into the chancel. Good organ. I don't know off the top of my head who made it. Information like that can be found, of course, online. We've got this lovely communion table, carved front, and you've got these very nice big candlesticks. Now these are wooden. You can find, well, this one, there's only one of them. This is for there probably is another one somewhere. Here we have a very nice Victorian brass. This, to the glory of God, was given this east window by Jonas Lindau Burns Lindau of Urton Hall in memory of his father Isaac Burns, who died the 19th of February 1870, aged 60 years. His mother Agnes, wife of Isaac, who died the 30th of June 1875, aged 64 years. His brother Isaac William, etc. And got these nice angels there, and here is that east window, Christ the Resurrection with angels. And then above the table we have the text, "Do this in remembrance of me." So, very typically Victorian. This chair would be for the bishop when he visits. He needs his own chair. And looking back through the screen here, that there is the vestry. Again, glass screen and the vestry beyond. So very good interior. We just look up a nice roof. They did like that open timbered roofs, the Victorians, and why not? Nothing wrong with an open timbered roof. So here we have a memorial to the Reverend John Hutchinson. Sorry, the light is in the wrong place, but and he was 38 years incumbent of Marsden, Lancashire, and 8 years incumbent of St Bridget and St John's, Beckermet, Cumberland, who died on the 26th day of April 1859, aged 69 years. And it's quite typical that you get a man who is moved to a country parish. There's another old burial stone there. He's moved to a country parish late in life because he didn't have retirement. So what do you do with an elderly clergyman? Well, you put him in a nice quiet country parish where he will do quite well, thank you very much. And to be fair, they generally did. It was just a matter of, it wasn't a matter of them just doing nothing. It was a matter of them having perhaps a little bit less to do than they had previously. A nice a nice west window up here. Can't see it very well because of the sunlight, but there's a reason to visit here if you're able to. And we're back at the porch. So let's go outside. And so here we are outside at St Bridget's to get my face in the sunlight. Got to be a bit careful here. There's a local cat sleeping behind me. See here the little turret here with its clock on it. Clock is working. That is the time. Church here opens about 10:30 in the morning, I think. And you can see a completely Victorian building. None of the fabric of the previous building is there. The medieval building would probably have been extremely simple. There would have been some decorative work. There's some decorative work can be found scattered in the churchyard, but it would have been a much smaller, simpler building, in scale much more like St Bridget's. This is, of course, the part of the village, well, this is the village where there's actually a village, and therefore this is the church that gets used more often, and rightly so. It seems a bit weird if you've got a church in the middle of the village to ask the villagers to trek out every Sunday or so to St Bridget's just because, well, St Bridget's is a very nice building. Sort of thing I might do, but most people wouldn't. But there we are. So we'll have a look around the outside and again admire something, including, of course, the two fonts that are out here. So here we are outside of St John's. You can just see over there that black patch is a cat who's sleeping in the sunlight, and quite right too. And the style is very typically Victorian. It's a version of 14th century Gothic, and we've got this little turret with the bell and the clock. Very useful. You can see the vestry sticking out here with this little wheel window or rose window, whatever you want to call that thing. Round window with tracery. Picking our way through the graves, of course, this is a graveyard that's here much before the present building, and you may be able to hear the sound of the beck rushing by. There's the beck down there. Beck is a word for stream, of course. English people probably know it. It's Scandinavian originally, I'm told. So there we are, there's the bridge and there's the beck. And you can see, in fact, there's two streams meeting there. So, Scandinavian, and of course, you've got the Danes here. So, Scandinavian words get into the language, Beckermet, and this is the original Victorian font. It replaced, well, a medieval font, which is now by the front gate, and it was in turn replaced by the font that's now indoors. I suspect the damage to it occurred, well, as you can see, it's occurred recently. Something has fallen on it and has cracked it, which is a shame, but there's the bit at the bottom, and someone hopefully will stick it back on again. And in fact, there's some older damage here, and it's been further damaged. It's probably actually just weather damage. Water gets in there, freezes, expands, and cracks the stone. And so we go round the east end. It's a little bit, as you can see, a bit constricted here. There's someone's house. So as we go round the east end, I've got to be careful I don't trip over anything, because that would be painful. And there we go, the boiler room in the basement, as I always say. Not a theological statement, but most of these places yet have a furnace underneath, for what that's worth. And some sort of heating, of course, is absolutely necessary in a building like this. Well, in an area like this, and you can see there's the aisle, that's the organ chamber, of course, and there's the sticky up of the tower, that spire, of course, the roof. Sticky up is a colloquialism. And some of the more high status graves here. One of the nice things about these churchyards is that you get these wildflowers in the spring. It's always very nice to see wildflowers in the spring. And here is the medieval font, reduced to a planter, but that's Norman. That's a tub. So there's been a church here since at least the 12th century. There's the porch door, and we should just get round the front so I can show you the facade. Broken column, not a very Christian image for a gravestone, but if you will imitate the classical examples, you will get things like that. So there's the porch, and we pan up, and there, silhouette against the sky, is the west end, and there's the weather vane showing the direction of the wind on the top. So that is St. John's, Beckermet. And just pan around there's the font. The old medieval font, very simple. And so there we go, St. John's, Beckermet, the second and the more modern of the two churches in Beckermet, and in my opinion the least interesting, but that's simply because St. Bridget's is such a very special place. But if you visit Beckermet, go to both churches. St. Bridget's opens first. I know from experience, because St. John's wasn't open when I went through here. What's the clock? Yeah, I went through here about an hour ago. Well, guess about an hour ago this morning. So, thank you for watching, and may God bless you and keep you until next time.